This video is sponsored by Squarespace.
All right, we're doing this, a Sanji video. Y'all know what happens. Every time I drop a Zoro video, for whatever reason, it turns into Sanji versus Zoro. When I drop a Sanji video, for whatever reason, it turns into Zoro versus Sanji. And the fact is, these two are gonna constantly be compared to each other. And I understand, I get it. I'm not acting like I don't know why, but jeez. So what are we talking about here? I had written out an entire sentimental video about Sanji and why he's a big wing, not the big wing, a big wing for Luffy, and why Luffy can't become Pirate King without him. That's still gonna drop, but we gotta address some stuff in regards to Sanji and Zoro, because man, like, y'all are going crazy in regards to the comparisons, right? So first off, as a Sanji fan, and you guys know I'm a Zoro fan as well, like literally, as far as favorite characters, they are equal for me, right? Because they bring so many different things to the table that the other can't. So off rip, stop trying to get Zoro out of Sanji. What I mean is, the things that Zoro does well, Sanji doesn't necessarily have to do well. Sanji can excel at things that Zoro can't on his own.
In One Piece and our own world, dreams matter. Look at Kuina's dream to collect the Matos. It's certainly going to need willpower. But the point here is, for lofty dreams and goals, some aid is needed, and today's sponsor, Squarespace, could be just what you need. Squarespace is an amazing all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs and dreamers to stand out and succeed in the online space. It could be at the beginning of your journey or managing an established brand. Squarespace makes it easy to create a beautiful website to engage with the audience, or even sell products and even content. But that's not all. Imagine if Kuina used Squarespace to create a bounty website for the Mato. That would be through the help of Punk Records, of course, but this makes it at least attainable. Using 2 decades of design expertise, though, the AI technology is masterful at boosting your creative potential. Receive payments in just a few clicks and give your customers more ways to pay with methods like Apple Pay, even Afterpay. How do you do that? Well, you go to squarespace.com/BDA law for a free trial and 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Which I think he genuinely does. Now, the conversation is pretty much around Conqueror's Haki and why Sanji should have it, etc., you know, in comparison to Scopper Gaban, if he does have it. But then it starts devolving into other things. For example, the conversation between Zoro and Sanji, it always goes back to, well, the one that checks Luffy every single time is Zoro. Sanji can't do that. And I'm like, yes, Zoro keeps Luffy grounded, 1000%. But we have somebody else that takes care of the rest of the crew. Not saying Zoro doesn't, not saying Luffy doesn't, but their roles and responsibilities are different. And again, for the Straw Hats, roles are not clearly defined in the first place. You get in where you fit in, right? Whatever you need to do at the time, that's what you need to do. However, they typically take on the same tasks every single island. And so for Zoro, he is the protector, right? He's the person that is sometimes gives Luffy a reality check. He is a strong, stern swordsman of the crew that I think is necessary, because they're a band of idiots that sometimes are too jovial, right? Sanji, however, he picks up the pieces. He listens. He's not saying Zoro doesn't, because in Elbaf already, Zoro was listening to what they were talking about with Loki. Zoro pulled Luffy aside and had a conversation with him. For Sanji, he's paying attention to everything else that's going on, right? So he's filling in the gaps. That's why Sanji saves the crew more than anybody, because he's always trying to figure out, okay, of course, he has a bias towards the women, but he's the prince, he's the knight. And so I think at the end of the day, we're going to talk about Sanji in a specific video in regards to his character and what he brings to the Straw Hat crew. But I think just stop trying to get Zoro out of Sanji. That's my main thing. Sanji can be amazing without the comparisons to Zoro, even though I know they're going to happen. But for instance, I think if we break down the character of Zoro and the character of Sanji, we can all agree Zoro post time skip is not as impressive as he was pre-time skip, right? He's become somewhat one note post time skip, and you know, that's attributed to his strength and how Oda decides to write him. Sanji, I think, has been the opposite, right? Yes, as far as feats and Mr. Prince and that storyline that people miss, it's not as prevalent, but it happens. But as far as like his character, there's no argument there, right? There's been a stark development in regards to Sanji, and I want to say specific characterization concerning his family, his growth in regards to the raid suit, destroying the raid suit, accepting who he is, even though the character progression is impeded by the gags, right? That's the like Sanji would be, I think, in the upper echelon consistently of One Piece characters if the gag was not so over the top, so frequent, sometimes so weird, and it's just Oda's way of having fun. But I think that sometimes impedes Sanji's progression that we love. For Zoro, there's still moments there, right? There's still moments where Zoro stands out. The Elbaf moment is the most recent one. We had moments in Egghead, we had moments in Wano, where Zoro stepped up, and that's what we want from Zoro, mind you. We want him to step into the Rayleigh role, where he is not only the enforcer, not only the person that keeps us grounded, but also the person that will step up and give orders when need be. There are moments there, right? However, because the Straw Hats are so well-rounded, Zoro doesn't have to do that all the time, right? Honestly, though, we've seen different Straw Hats in different moments be the one to take charge. Jinbei, Nami, Sanji, Zoro. Sanji led a full-on assault against another Yonko on Luffy's order. Luffy trusted him to do that. So they're so well-rounded, and that's part of the issue. It's like when they're on a great team, right? They're on it's a great basketball team. And individually, they could probably score 30. But because they don't need to, sometimes Zoro's gonna drop 30. Sometimes Sanji's gonna drop 30. Nami, you had somebody like Jinbei who's crazy, and you got Luffy, right? And then of course some ancillary parts like Frankie's not a slouch. Then Usopp, Chopper, right? So I mentioned Brook. Whole Cake Island, Brook. He put up 50, all right? Brook put up 50 in Whole Cake Island. Like, love Brook in Whole Cake Island. So those moments where we would like for Sanji to excel because he does, and we're gonna point those out in the next Sanji video. However, this was supposed to be about specifically Sanji and Conqueror's Haki. However, I just wanted to address that because I dropped a Zoro video recently and it was like a lot of back and forth in regards to Sanji being worse and Zoro being better. Bro, like, why are we comparing a wide receiver with a quarterback? You know what I'm saying? Like, they play different positions at the end of the day, right? You can understand the talent and why they're comparable, but they play different positions, right? Or for some football fans, they can be like, well, you're comparing a striker and defender. You know what I'm saying? Like, they do different things. So that's probably a better example. Either way, Sanji, Conqueror's Haki, doesn't make sense. I go back and forth with it. I'm not gonna lie, because I think it makes sense. Sanji is royalty, right? The definition for Conqueror's Haki is, I don't think it's as clearly defined, right? It's chicken or egg. Rayleigh said the people that are gonna have conquerors, they'll make a name for themselves. They typically make a name for themselves. I'm like, they have Conqueror's Haki because they will make a name for themselves? Is it predestined? Or they are gonna make a name for themselves because they have Conqueror's Haki, right? So here's what I'd say. I think Sanji has what it takes to have Conqueror's Haki. But I think what Oda's going to do is create different paths. So for instance, we've never really seen Zoro use Conqueror's Haki the way Luffy does. Meaning, opponent, you're weak, I knock you out. Never seen that. I don't know if we ever will. Now, Zoro does have Conqueror's Haki. It's imbued into his blade. It leads to advanced Conqueror's Haki, right? So, but we've seen this before. Guys, I made a video, I want to say 10 years ago, saying Zoro has Conqueror's Haki. And it was from Whiskey Peak, right? But then I also used the reference from Punk Hazard. Y'all remember that moment? Yeah. Monet. Where I was like, okay, Luffy has the power to overwhelm. That's what really describes as Conqueror's Haki. What about a lesser version of that, right? Where I can't necessarily overwhelm, but I can intimidate, petrify, right? So for Zoro, Monet could not move. She could not move. And again, you can say she was scared or whatever, but that's next level intimidation. For me, that was Conqueror's Haki. And I feel like Zoro will have the ability to have his opponent stand still out of fear, but that's because of his presence, his overwhelming presence. Now, it's probably not gonna knock him out, even though we saw in the anime, some people were knocked out when Zoro just used Conqueror's Haki, right? He didn't even know he did it. So I don't know if it ever gets there, but his power to overwhelm could be just in the form of intimidation. For Sanji, what if Oda introduces a path where it's Conqueror's Haki imbued with observation Haki? Meaning, Sanji would have the power to override your observation Haki, similar to what Shanks can do, where Shanks basically can shut off your observation Haki. Now, again, it gives Oda leeway because he doesn't have to do the same things that Luffy does with Zoro and Sanji. However, it puts them on an even playing field in regards to being the upper echelon, because that's the bar that Oda has said, right? You have Conqueror's Haki, you're upper echelon, point blank period, right? With having Conqueror's Haki, there's a potential for even more growth. So I would not be mad at it, but it's not going to be Sanji using Conqueror's Haki knocking people out. I don't see that. I don't see that at all. Now, theoretically, right? Sanji now has Conqueror's Haki. What changes? Well, for one, the chasm that I would say hypothetically a lot of people have in regards to Sanji and Zoro in regards to strength, I think it closes significantly because of the potential for growth. I think that's how I look at Conqueror's Haki. It's a potential thing. You have Conqueror's Haki, you have the potential to be top 10 in this series, right? At any point in time. So for Yamato, Katakuri, Doflamingo even, it puts you on a different tier, Boa Hancock, because of what you could possibly learn having Conqueror's Haki. And I think that's the main reason why people were so shook in Marineford is not just because Luffy can knock people out. And the funny part is people that weren't in the community at the time, before Conqueror's Haki was used in a different way. Let me tell y'all something. A lot of us did not like Conqueror's Haki. Like, we liked it when it was used, but we hated conceptually all it was used to do. Because it's like, we literally asked this question. Again, people that were in the community back then. Are they shook because Luffy can knock out fodder? There has to be more. Literally. And Shanks destroying Whitebeard's ship, we pointed at that saying, okay, eventually Conqueror's Haki should be able to hurt people. Bro, this was arguments from 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, right? So now we're at this point where, let's say Sanji has Conqueror's Haki, the gap is closed, the potential is even higher, exoskeleton, insane speed, observation, possibly killing Conqueror's Haki. Yeah, that gap is closed significantly. Because again, here's why I think Sanji got stronger than Zoro in Wano. That's crazy to say. But what I mean is, not that Sanji is stronger than Zoro, but as far as the jump that Sanji made, I think it could be even more significant than the jump Zoro made. Because, yes, Zoro unlocked Conqueror's Haki. I always feel he had it. I just feel like he didn't understand what he was wielding. I feel like Oda made it clear in Wano, right, in regards to showing the flames and stuff like that, Ashura. So essentially, Zoro got powerful, even more powerful in regards to strength. Before Wano, Sanji's biggest weakness in a lot of people's mind was his durability. Oh, he's fast, he's strong, but his leg broke to Virgo? That was his main weakness people point out. They're like, he can't hang with Zoro. Zoro gonna destroy him. So Zoro did get physically stronger, right, and more potent in regards to Conqueror's Haki and armament for sure. But Sanji and where people had him in regards to durability was a bottom tier, bottom rung. Him unlocking the exoskeleton, being able to repair his bones completely eradicates that argument, and now it's a strength. You understand what I'm saying? So it's almost like a striker, right? All right, I don't want to go there because people be like, well, technically, it's almost like a quarterback, right? They can already throw the ball hard, right? But now they unlock something that they can throw the ball even harder. Great. You've gotten better. But let's say it's a wide receiver. Fast, can jump, right? But he can't catch that well, right? Can't catch that well. All of a sudden, he gets the ability to catch really well. So now it's like, damn, this is a completely different player. Where the quarterback didn't be like, nah, he's really good. Nah, he's really, really good. And he's going to continuously get praise for that. But the person that can now catch, it puts him on another level. Like, I thought before Wano, before Sanji unlocked exoskeleton, Zoro's on another level, in my opinion. Unlocking that, I think, shores up the durability. We already know Sanji has endurance. It puts him on the same level to me. So that's why that was such a key power up. If he gets Conqueror's Haki, personally, I don't think he'll ever be stronger than Zoro, right? I think at best, as strong, right? But either way, if Zoro and Sanji fights, I've said this before, it will never, ever, if it's a serious fight, it will never, ever be low diff, mid diff, even high. It will be extreme diff, meaning somebody will be on their last leg. That's just the type of rivalry that they have. That ended up being way, way more long-winded than I expected to be, but that was fun. I like talking about Zoro and Sanji in a way that's not toxic, right? Again, love them both. People that love either, I get it, you know. Sanji sometimes can be annoying or sometimes can be too stoic, but they're both great. Like, it's just, I don't know. Give me your thoughts, though. How do you feel about everything I said? I said a lot, so I don't want to point out anything specific. You know, if you enjoy anything I said, subscribe, because more of this is coming. I think more kind of talking about what's going on, because I used to do it a lot more where it's like things that are going on, just address them. We're getting back to that. All right, so let me know what you think. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, more kind of like this, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Oh, thank you to my patrons as well. Thank you guys for supporting stuff. You guys help me out so much. And again, thank you. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.